The DRC death toll is closing in on 1,000, and this week, two governments looked at the same outbreak and made opposite bets at the border. If you're just joining, the DRC declared a Bundibugyo Ebola outbreak on May 15, and it's turned into a regional test. Transmission has spread across 5 provinces. An emergency delivery roadmap was adopted in Bunia, and WHO warned that rapid growth and missed transmission chains were outpacing containment. Access is still limited too. There's no licensed Bundibugyo vaccine and no curative treatment.
This is Ebola Watch. Today, WHO pulls a team out of a treatment center. Uganda wants its travel restrictions gone, and South Africa's adding a new form at the door. Same outbreak, wildly different playbooks.
This one comes via Stephanie Sichere at CIDRAP. The DRC death toll is now approaching 1,000 per CIDRAP. And I want to be careful with that word, approaching. It's a milestone the count is moving toward, not one it's crossed.
1,000. Say that out loud on a health beat, and it changes the room. This outbreak's been flagged as one of the fastest growing on record, and a number this size is where that stops sounding like a projection and starts being verifiable.
It is. And the context that makes 1,000 hit differently. The response infrastructure isn't keeping pace. We've got a treatment center that had to be emptied out this week. We'll get to that. When access fails, the count doesn't just keep climbing, it climbs faster.
Right, and hold that image next to Uganda lobbying to lift travel restrictions today. Same outbreak name, 2 countries on completely opposite trajectories. One's counting toward 1,000 dead, the other's counting down 42 days.
All Africa writes,
countries bordering the Democratic Republic of Congo have stepped up screening at border crossings, trained frontline health workers, and activated emergency plans to reduce the risk of imported cases as the DRC battles a growing Ebola outbreak. On Monday, the DRC's health ministry reported that at least 930 people have died due to the illness.
So the deaths are nearing 1,000. We just walked through that number, and now Uganda, Rwanda, and Zambia are all pulling their screening right up to the border. 3 countries tightening up in the same week.
And look at Zambia here. 0 confirmed cases, and they're still activating disinfection, masks, hand washing at points of entry. They're acting before an imported case shows up.
Wait, Zambia doesn't even border the outbreak zone directly, so why the full activation?
Because the real number is unknown. WHO's saying it could be up to 4 times the 2,344 confirmed. So if a neighbor screens off the known count, it's screening against a floor, not a ceiling. Zambia is basically betting the real spread is wider than the map shows.
And this is Bundibugyo, declared back on May 15. 2,344 cases, 930 dead. Reported deaths nearing 1,000, while the borders around it harden. This week, that curve has not bent.
This one comes via Natalia Arbeles at Mongabay.
Back on the 17th, I asked how you even run a response through a war zone, and here's the answer in the worst way. WHO physically pulled its health workers out of a treatment center because of armed clashes.
And put that next to the number we just walked through, a death toll nearing 1,000. An empty treatment center changes what that number means. Every bed evacuated is 1 fewer patient you can treat or trace.
That's the part that lands for me. It's not just danger to the staff. It's a hole in the containment map, right where the cases are surging.
Exactly. Per Mongabay, armed conflict is now part of the disease control equation, and until those clashes settle, no amount of doses or funding can reach the people inside that catchment. Access is the bottleneck now, not supply. The Ghana report writes,
Uganda has started lobbying countries to lift Ebola-related travel restrictions after discharging its last confirmed Ebola patient from hospital. The discharge of a Congolese national from the Mulago National Referral Hospital's isolation center in Kampala on Thursday triggered the start of a 42-day countdown required by the World Health Organization before Uganda can officially be declared Ebola-free, provided no new infections are detected.
So this is the split screen of the week. Uganda discharges its last patient. The 42-day clock starts ticking, and they're immediately on the phone asking 15 countries to drop travel restrictions.
Let's be precise about that clock, though. Discharge triggers the countdown, but it only ends in an Ebola-free declaration if no new infection turns up for 42 days. Uganda is lobbying on day 1.
And here's the number that jumps out. The US has Uganda at level 4. Same tier as North Korea, Somalia, Afghanistan. For an outbreak that infected 20 people and killed 2.
That's the tension worth sitting with. 20 cases, 2 deaths. A genuinely contained response. Set that against the death toll we heard in the DRC segment. Same outbreak name, opposite trajectories, and the border policy isn't tracking the difference.
The health minister's word was injured. Tourism, trade, business. So for a listener, the honest read is Uganda right that the restrictions have outlived the risk? Or is lobbying on day 1 of a 42-day window jumping the gun?
I'd land here. The process exists for a reason, and 42 days isn't arbitrary. But a level 4 that lumps a 2-death outbreak in with active war zones, that's a warning label that stopped matching actual risk. This one's from Dev Discourse.
South Africa's Department of Health has introduced a new travel health requirement for people arriving from Uganda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, following the ongoing Ebola virus disease, EVD, outbreak in the 2 countries.
And now South Africa cuts the other way. Anyone flying in from Uganda or the DRC has to fill out a travel health questionnaire up to 24 hours before boarding. Meanwhile, Uganda is lobbying to lift restrictions entirely. Same week, 2 governments betting opposite ways.
And notice how light touch this is. A questionnaire is self-declared. It screens for what a traveler will tell you, not for the virus. That's a very different bet than Canada's outright visa suspension we talked about.
Right. Canada slams the door. South Africa hands you a form. If you've got a Southern Africa itinerary, this is the line that actually changes your day, and it's the gentler end of the spectrum.
The 24 hours ahead detail tells you a lot. This is designed to speed you through arrivals, not stop you at them. It's a surveillance layer and a political signal more than a wall.
If Ebola Watch helps you stay informed, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you're listening. It only takes a moment, and it helps other people find the show when they need clear updates too. What we're watching next: Uganda's 42-day clock. No new infections through that period before the World Health Organization can declare the outbreak over. We've put links to every story from today's briefing in the show notes, so if one caught your attention, you can go straight to the source and read more. That's Ebola Watch for today. This is a Lantern podcast.